everyone. Please say that you're Big Booby Bobby. I am Big Booby Bobby.
Hi, I'm Big Booby Bobby.
Hi, I'm Big Booby Bobby.
We are all Big Booby Bobby, and today we're going to be all right. Hey guys, what does it mean to you to tell stories as a Black queer adult in spaces that weren't always built for us?
I think what it means to me as Big Booby Bobby, I think it means a lot. I think growing up, I had to deal with like all of us, we had to deal with a lot of predominantly white literature, not and the depictions that we had. Though they are interesting movies at times, they kind of put us in a shell of what we believe in creatively. And I think about the African American experience and the way we tell stories and how it was told in like my household. And being able to continue that tradition and thinking outside of, you know, traditional European storytelling and everything has been a very enjoyous feeling, especially when talking to creators like yourself, the Bobbies, the Big Boobies, um, and seeing how your perspective from other parts of the United States and how you guys tell stories.
I think it's just another way to kind of rebel because every movie that comes out creatively is one of three movies. It's a struggle movie, it's a sports movie, or it's some kind of superhero movie. We got like three of them. So yeah, I just think it's another way to rebel and express ourselves.
Yeah, it's definitely. I think creation is one of the highest acts of rebellion that you can have. Just I'll go on and on about how I think storytelling is the best thing that humanity has ever created, but this ability to create worlds and pass that on to others just I don't know, and everything our people does is great. So being able to see and hear about the worlds that we create, um it it means everything to me in a society, environment, culture, whatever you want to call it, where we're surrounded by shit that is not us and doesn't try to include us in any way, shape, or form.
I hate how like when I look at like black storytelling, like in movies that were either Tyler Perryified or we are thugs, gangsters, or we're in periodical slave movies. And I think that transition from like I think that transition of delving into like individual black experiences, like I'm going to talk about like queer films, but like I don't know, there was this black queer film, and I want to say it's called like the main character's name is Blue, and then his name goes to Black. I'm blanking on the name of it, but I watched it and I was like, oh my god, this is like how I've met like some of my black male friends, like kind of dealt with their journey of coming out as like a gay male, and then like using that and becoming writers and like trying to authenticate like their experience, even though we're not really like the targeted, even though a lot of people downplay like our experiences and put us into these categories and stuff.
It also, just by having like certain narratives surrounding like a black experience, changes the story and the message of the film entirely. I watched some videos recently from this creator on TikTok that was talking about how um, white horror is distinctly different from black horror, and also like white male horror specifically is distinctly different from like feminist horror. And it was talking about how like white horror is it centers the idea of like having your power taken away from you, or like in certain contexts it turning out, oh, mankind is the real monster. Whereas black horror, it is the horror of being in a system that dehumanizes you at every turn, and how that system, whatever it is completely inescapable. And like feminist horror oftentimes is very like focused on like not having control of your own body, and the inherent like horror that comes from that. And it's like the more I thought about it, the easier it is to see like a lot of black horror, like the scary shit oftentimes isn't the monsters in the movie. It's the white people that the black characters are with that are scary as fuck. Yeah, it completely changes the narrative. It completely changes the themes in ways that I think it simply cannot be done by like hegemonic white culture. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our very first episode of the Pillow Fort Podcast. I'm so excited! This is a podcast where queer Black creators talk about tabletop role-playing games, creative projects, and our own experiences navigating nerd spaces. I am Violent, aka Sasha, they, them pronouns. I am your lead host, and I will be helping guide the conversation in these episodes. I also have my lovely friends and co-hosts with me. Please introduce yourselves.
Hi, I'm Charles. I'm the creative director. I don't really care about my pronouns. Any of them work for me. I make the artwork and visual design for the show, and I'm really excited to be building this podcast with everyone.
Hi, I'm Sosa, aka Big Booby Bobby. And I am one of the co-hosts and also kind of the executive producer. I do social media, I organize episode topics that our lovely co-host Violet will be organizing, and then also I am Chel's number one writer. I love everything she does. But mainly I handle business side of the podcast, and I'm here to jump into the conversations and, share my own little perspective. And I'm so happy to be building this thing with my lovely friends.
Ah! So this podcast is something we decided to create together because we wanted a space where we could talk about the things we love about tabletop games, storytelling, the things I won't shut the fuck up about, and just being queer Black creators in nerd spaces.
We'll also be talking about personal creative projects, experiences in TTRPGs, and honestly, all the funny and bad shit that comes with all of that. We're going to talk about the good and the tough times.
So, if you're into tabletop RPGs, being creative, any kind of storytelling, or just hearing honest conversation from queer Black nerds like us about being adults, go ahead and join us.
For our very first episode, we thought it would be a good idea to introduce ourselves, talk about why we started this podcast in the first place. So I'll throw it to Sosa first. Why did we start this podcast?
We definitely started the podcast because we love to yap. I think we spent many a Discord call talking about things we love and hate about TTRPGs, and also the fandoms that we're in. Me and Chels, we talk about this one show called The Magicians. All three of us actually met during a campaign that we were in, or a one shot that turned into a two shot. Go ahead, Daggerheart. Shout out to Jedi. And from that was born the idea of like, what if we, yapped, but on social media for other people to listen to us yap about?
Yeah, I think I love to hear myself talk, and I think everyone else in the world should be subjected to me talking. You're welcome.
You're welcome.
I'm going to be honest here. I was not part of that original conversation. I got roped in at the end of it, but I'm excited to be here. I love these people and I love talking to them.
Wherever we go, Chels is going. And don't you forget that.
Yeah, we did hold her grandmother under duress.
Yes,
She's
we did.
doing very well. We're
Great grandma.
actually, yeah, we went out for brunch yesterday. It was a drag brunch. So grandma's doing well. You unfortunately cannot see her yet, but
Yeah.
yeah, we are happy to have Chels here.
My
Uh,
contract says after 100 episodes, I get a picture.
mhm, mhm. After 100 episodes, which that number is subject to change based off of your performance. I hope you read the fine print. So do well. It could very well be higher. Hey, hey, what, tell me about y'all's TTRPG background. What is the first game that you have played?
Honestly, I don't know if I should count this as my first game because I left the table before it started. Um, Sosa probably knows the story. I don't know if I told it to Violent, but I for sure didn't tell the viewers. Um, I was in a table. I was, doing the wrong things, and I did look on Reddit for a table. I didn't know. I didn't know. Okay. And I found a table, and it was obviously very inviting. It was a bunch of middle-aged white men. We did our session 0, and that was fine and dandy. It was like, very basic older white men characters, the paladin who wanted to be the police, the rogue who wanted to steal everything and be kind of an asshole, and the lone wolf, et cetera, et cetera. And I think I was like a fighter orc or something. And at the beginning of our session 1, we were doing like 5 minute, like, chop it up, how are we doing type stuff. And before the session started, the DM was like, does anyone have any questions before we get started? And this one guy, the paladin, crazy it came from the paladin now that I think about it, he asks me, our videos cameras were on, we were all looking at each other, I knew that they were all white. He goes, before we start, I just wanted to make sure. Can I call your orc a fantasy slur?
No.
Didn't stick around to ask questions. I left the call, left the server, and I was like, yeah, maybe Reddit isn't the place to find groups. So then I went and asked my ex, how do you find groups and stuff? And then I was looking through Discord and I found the codex, unfortunately. So yeah.
Every time you talk about it, it is fucking just like the audacity. Hey, can I call your fucking fantasy orc a fucking slur? Can I?
And I don't understand the conversation even happening around fantasy slurs. But I know that it only happens around a certain lighter colored of people. Because that's
Yeah.
never even a question to come out of my mouth personally. And at all of the tables with colored people, the coloreds, it's never been a topic of conversation ever, period. Never, 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 never. So that was incredibly wild. But yeah, I didn't even play. I left the server and yeah, called it a day.
Yeah, that's so fucking yucky.
That's crazy. I
Like,
I would reel back as if I were hit if someone said that to me.
I truly think that I was stuck. I literally was like, and then my
you ever
fingers
notice?
moved before the rest of my body. So
You ever notice that brand of like? I hate it when all of a sudden authenticity matters in a campaign when it's to subjugate another race. How do you
right,
even have that on
right,
deck? What would you
right,
call an orc,
right,
babes? What would you call an orc?
right.
Because I can't even. on the top of my brain, I'll call you a dead-brained scallywag before I fucking call you. I don't even a slur specifically. You have that on your
Specifically,
Rolodex.
specifically. So that's how you know for
It's
sure
in
he
the
was
notes app.
thinking about it. And I feel like he had a list of things he was gonna name out and ask me about. It just felt like it was a setup. It just felt like it was a setup. And I couldn't even look at what everyone else's faces were like, but there was a long enough silence for someone else to say something that just made me think that I shouldn't be at this table. So
Mm. The fact that he felt comfortable enough to even ask that.
ask.
Men,
Ooh.
literally, men, disgusting.
Yeah,
Disgusting.
I'm looking up slurs for orcs right now, and wow,
There's a list.
wow. You can find anything on Reddit. He was about to call you some shit.
Yeah, and I feel like fantasy slurs just borrow from real slurs, so that in itself just feels really weird.
Yeah,
Glorious insults for orcs from a racist town.
that's the one I saw.
Are you fucking me right?
Glorious? That's crazy. That's a crazy descriptor. Yeah,
Oh
that
my god,
was
this is how they used
quite
to
a
talk to
moment.
black people. Can I give an example of what one of them is?
Yes, please. I didn't know any of
And
them.
I'm gonna say it in the exact way I'm hearing it in my eyeballs. Oh yeah, sorry, I can't read. Sorry, I can read. Fucking no good dirty orcs. All they do is breathe heavy and steal. We should just string them all up. Do the world a favor. That's the first one, and it has 8 upvotes. The comment after that says, "Oh Lord, that is good but fucked up sounding. God, I hate that I grew up in the South and I live in Scotland now because people don't know that the characters I do are just real people back home. So you're doing this in game.
Whoa.
Haha, I
So
feel,
you
man. I'm from the South as well.
so you moved somewhere else, got more experience in life, and still decided I'm going to cosplay a racist? What's happening? What's
American
happening?
Americans. As an American, that is the most. I'm gonna keep on. You had the opportunity. Like, this is how you know traveling does not fucking work. I know we're gonna get back on the task at hand, but like, oh my god, they call them tusk face. Bitch, listen to this. Tusk faces, graybacks, flatheads, half blood savage. You're fucking repurposing actual racial insults towards minority groups to bring into a fantasy world. You're done.
And what's
You're
crazy
done.
is like even with the back like sort of back on topic to like my story, the
Yes.
campaign we were in wasn't even like a world setting. It was like we were going inside of a dungeon to get something. Like we weren't even going outside. So where did you think that you needed to use anyway? Yeah, to the whole world building needs realism and like racism topics and all these other like hot topics. We could have picked any hot topic and you settled on racism. I think that just says more about certain people than it does anything else about the story.
Yeah.
It's also something I would like to say, which is kind of my beef with how racism is portrayed in any sort of fictional or fantasy setting. Hold on, cat check. Yeah, there we
Beautiful.
go.
Oh.
Specifically when it is done by white people, it is portrayed as solely interpersonal. It's portrayed as interpersonal and explicit in a way that you rarely find in real life. It is
Yes.
individuals on the street going up and calling you slurs. They won't serve you food. I rarely, if ever, see it portrayed as something systemic, subtle, and insidious, which is how it is in real life. It's something that you won't see unless you look for it most of the time. It is something that's so deeply ingrained. And so when I'm playing these games and I hear people talk about like, oh, this is realistic. Like, no, it's not. Like realistically, this isn't going to happen. It's a lot more subtle than that.
Yeah.
Um, and extend that to really any form of oppression, right? With sexism as well, it's not just people make it like so stratified, like women get in the kitchen. Like, no, it is
Except for
deep,
it is kind of turning on.
insidious, embedded. Like I very rarely see it treated like realistically, despite the fact that these people want realism so fucking bad.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
like
And
aggression are a
I
thing.
think, oh my God, not to slob on Brennan Lee Mulligan too much, but in but in Fantasy High, I think he did racism really well in making it systemic because the halflings were the founders of the country that they play in most of the time. And you can tell that like once you get to like Riz's area, it's all the bestial monster races. And then once you get to like where Fig is from, it's like the wood elves. So like there's like he very subtly did middle class, lower class. And when we get to
Add-ons.
Applebee's, when we get to Applebee's, they very clearly make it known that they're racist. You know, it's those people. I think the wording that he uses with just even family members makes it a lot easier to see for people who go through it regularly, the kind of world that he set up and what it was mimicking. We knew that that was America. Like that was very plain once you got to the Applebee's family. You knew exactly where he was going with that, and he didn't even have to explore it that much.
Yeah. And
Tasteful.
I like how a lot of the instances of racism in Family High were coming from, and I'm sure that y'all have experienced this too. Most of the racism we experience is not from, people who are wearing MAGA hats and carrying, rifles on their back and shit. It's from like, quote unquote, well meaning white liberal people who like think that they're the good ones and say some shit that is low key like just reaffirming racist stereotypes. Like it's someone going to Riz and being like, "Oh, yeah, your family are you from the Red Wastes?" Or it's Fabian going up to that Eric Coker kid and being like, "So do you eat
Eat.
worms?"
Yeah.
And just all these
Yeah.
instances where it's not like bam in your face like incredibly bad guy. It's just like normalized in a
Yeah.
way.
And then we subtly through the seasons get to the extreme of that. What was Cracker Barrel? What was her name? The little Cracker Barrel in the latest season.
Oh, Kimberly Copper Cable.
Thank you. Thank you, Kipper Lily.
Yo,
Kipper Lily
I'm
Cracker
not gonna
Barrel.
cap. I'm not gonna cap. I was calling her out of her name on Tumblr. Her name was everything but a child of God.
Yeah,
Hey y'all, Kipper Lily hate lives here on this podcast.
it does. It does for sure. And he did the character so well because her whole thing was being jealous of Riz, being jealous
That his
his
that his
parent,
dad
his dad died, that he was fighting all of these things, and like I just think that that part was done so tastefully well with the slow build up to you realizing that this stemmed from jealousy. Beautiful,
Yes.
Yeah.
beautiful.
Sosa, tell us about the first game you played.
I did not have the Reddit experience. I actually my lovely so my one of my roommates has a brother who has a best friend who we all became like a big friend group because like we all became like a big friend group. They their name is Sid. Sid's a they them lesbian. Shout out Sid, you little redheaded demon gremlin. Love you. Sid was talking like we were having like we had this like event called Weep Wednesdays, but it ended up we were watching like Skate the Infinity when it was coming out on Crunchyroll, Live Laugh Love, and then one day we were kind of chatting, and they were talking about D&D, and I didn't know what D&D was. I thought it was like LARPing, and I barely knew what LARPing was. So they were like talking, and they were like, well, I want to run a campaign. I was like, oh yeah, you should do it. And they were like, well, would you want to play? And I was like, yeah, because I was like, that sounds so cool. And I had no idea what D&D was. So I had to put my thinking cap on, and I had to do a lot of research. And my research was watching Dimension 20 Fantasy High. And so my first character, his name is Thok. He is a half orc, and I had to give him the most amount of trauma possible. Have his spoiler alert for any of my friends that see this, his whole daddy got murked in front of him when he was a kid, and then he was held hostage by a town that him and his father were setting up to help. But basically my character was in captivity, basically, and I know we were just talking about how we're tired of the slave plot line, but Sid, when I was like pitching this, Sid was like, I want to be real careful, and was like talking me through what is like. Sid was like, I'm not doing slurs. I was like, I don't want you to do slurs. And she was like, Sid was just very like, this, if this is what you want, and like going over safety, like safety net. And I was like, oh my God, I'm like literally getting seduced by you, because like you're taking into account the fact that I'm a Black person playing this character who is Black, even though he's an orc. And like making sure to, in a scene later on down the line, when it became prevalent for my character to confront his past, you're being very respectful and cautious about handling that kind of source material without it seeming like, oh, like a throwaway plot, or a fucking like, oh, this is like a slave thing. Because I hear the horror stories, I'm seeing what these people are saying, and stuff like that. But yeah, he's like my baby. Like that was my first D&D character, and ever since then, I don't know, I fell in love with D&D because of Sid and the way they told their stories as a queer person, how respectful they were to me and my character, and honored the fact that I gave my boy locks. And they were like, I think one time they clocked me. They were like, is he gonna get a retwist, when we were in the city? And I was like, I don't think he knows what a retwist is.
He said, boy, your edges are fucked up.
Bitch.
You can't be at my table with edges like that.
Yes.
Mine.
Yes. Sid, shout out to Sid, because honestly, I probably, if I had to deal with anything y'all had to deal with on Reddit, D&D would no longer be me. We would not be here.
My first table, kind of like you, was actually a good experience. And I played it. It was actually only 3 of us. It was me, my best friend, who is, white, trans mask, and my coworker. She's amazing. But honestly, here's the thing. The first couple games that I played weren't even D&D. The first TTRPG I played was called Blades in the Dark, because I'd heard about it online. I thought, this sounds tight. I would love to play some criminals. I played like one session with some coworkers. It was, it was okay. I had fun though. And then I found this other system called Print Weaver, which, if y'all don't know, it's this system where you build your character based off of your fingerprints. And those determine like what powers you have. And I played it with those 2 friends that I told you about. The campaign, by the way, I was DMing. And it was a post-apocalyptic real-world setting. We were set here in Colorado because I didn't feel like making a new world, and I could just, if I wanted a map, boom, Google Maps is right there. My friend, it was so hard to balance those fucking fights because you have 3 stats. You have the magic stat, you have dexterity, and you have strength. This dude had 9 fingerprints that were the same type. And that meant all his points went into strength. What am I supposed to do out of someone who could mink a god?
Right. That's some Mashal shit. What?
Yeah.
I was like, I literally can't balance fights with you, dog. You hit the enemy once, that's half their HP gone. It was absurd. but it was so much fun. We didn't end up continuing that campaign, unfortunately. But I really enjoy those systems for like short play. If it's long, I would have to say D&D and Daggerheart are probably my favorite systems at the moment. I don't know about y'all. How do y'all feel?
Daggerheart eats. Daggerheart eats. And I hate this.
Daggerheart is definitely top tier.
The
Yeah.
fluidity of Daggerheart. Okay, not to give the white man the props, Matthew Mercer, if you're watching, but
Sponsor us.
Daggerheart is too fucking good.
I've looked up criticisms for it online, and it seems like most of the criticisms are like, it's not crunchy enough. It seems most of the criticisms are like, it's so focused on like, getting these cool scenes and everything, making your characters seem like, characters in a movie or something. Essentially being like, it is more focused on story and kind of like that softer side of TTRPGs that some people don't like, and I fully understand. Some people like their shit crunchy. They like, the older editions of D&D where it's all numbers, baby. And I appreciate that. I respect it. For me personally, I like my stuff to be streamlined. I like the role play. If I don't roll dice for 30, 40 minutes and it's just characters talking and having amazing dialogue, whew,
Yeah.
I love it.
Also, like with Daggerheart, the fluidity of the system itself, if you're a narrative leaning DM, is just amazing. And if you like punishing your players every time they roll with fear, bitch, that's another issue. You can it's just like, I think the difference is kind of like the vibes of someone of the DM like playing God in their realms more directly versus reactionary, where that's where the fear system, the fear and hope system comes in. I think when we did our one shot, I was like, oh, I really like this because it's giving us opportunity to role play. So the Daggerheart episode that we did, which I can maybe one day share with everybody. We literally it was supposed to be a one shot, turned into a two shot because we were role playing that entire first session. And that was so good because we got into the nitty gritty of our characters, which if we have time today, we might talk about that a little bit.
And I think that, I don't know if it was just our DM, shout out Jedi, or if it was the system itself that lends itself to the role playing being extremely collaborative. Not only does a DM create parts of the world, you're able to extend the questions and have your players make part of the world. Like our DM Jedi, I will always go back to the gravity storms. I thought that was so cool.
Hey, that was me.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. We were going to a place, we were playing in the 4 Burning Banners campaign setting.
5 Burning Banners.
The 5 Burning Banners. And we had to go to a meeting place. We have 5
Burning Banners at home. 4 Burning Banners.
Or at work, where I was doing those sessions from.
Yeah, that was actually insane to see. And we were going to a location for some kind of party. It was like a wedding party, trying to get some of the banners to not burn. And the DM Jedi was telling us that, there's this constant storm that's around this place. It makes it a very dangerous place. And he opened the question to Violent, what kind of storm is here? And Violent went on this, I don't want to say tangent, but this beautiful speech about, narrative about how the storm was interacting and what it was doing. And it was basically just like a gravity storm, but it was told so beautifully that even I was like, wow, I need to get better. I'm a DM and I need to be better. Yeah, that was beautiful.
Definitely inspiration from all the beautiful folks at Worlds Beyond Number for that. when like Brennan asks them like, tell me about this part of the world, or describe for me something that is in this town. They not only describe what is part of that setting, but also like how the people react to that and what that means for the world. And so that's why I was like, there is gravity storms. And I also said they have infrastructure built so that people don't get lost or killed in the gravity storm. Like it has shaped the architecture of this place. Um, and I'm always chasing that goal of being like my favorites. I think they're really cool.
Yeah. Oh my god, Worlds Beyond Number is also amazing, and I love what Brennan is doing with it. Worlds Beyond Number, when we were playing the Daggerheart campaign, I was like, this is feeling very much like Arcane, like the show, the hit show on Netflix.
Hey,
Sorry,
you might have
sponsor us.
heard of it.
You might have heard of it.
It's this
It
small
might have
thing.
won
You
a
know,
couple awards.
I saw it, but not everyone
In
was
case
into
you
it.
haven't,
Yeah.
Not to
my
dox
character.
myself, I didn't see it at all. Thank you.
What the fuck,
What the fuck?
girl?
The fuck
Okay,
is
so
wrong with
we
you?
know what we're doing after this. But my character was very much like like an undercity going into, like, he was a clank, which led to this day a lot of interesting clank comments.
Speaking of
And
slurs in
speaking of
TTRPGs.
slurs,
I
there's
know. I
like
completely
black
forgot
folks
that
were
we
saying in my
ran with that. We completely
yes.
ran with that. Hard
The
ER and everything.
Yes. Speaking of racism I faced in the workplace and in my TTRPGs, what these black folks were saying about my clank. But my guy is like a wizard, and he's a war wizard, a war mage, and everything. And basically, like, we had like a player that was like, obviously, like, I'm doing evil things. And then my character was like, if he saw everything that niggas were doing in Arcane and decided to try to be preemptive about not letting that ever happen, but he's being a little shady. But Brennan, and to tie this into like Worlds Beyond Number, and Daggerheart gave me the freedom to explore my character in the role. Like, I think that was the first time I ever played a serious character that was like, let's get down to business and defeat the Huns. Um, and he was like, he ended up like, there was a moment in that last episode that we did together where he was like, oh, I'm no longer going by Mistland anymore, and chose the wizard silence. And that's a nod to Worlds Beyond Number, because the wizard silence, if you, first of all, if you're not listening to Worlds Beyond Number, what are you really doing? That's a really great like podcast. Subscribe to the Patreon, because wait till you find out what the wizard silence did, and that's the type of timing I'm moving on next time on Dragon Ball Z.
One more thing that I just want to add really quick. I will die on the hill that is Kids on Brooms. I think that that is such a great system. I have so much fun playing around with it that I haven't played a campaign with it yet, but I've literally made so many campaigns surrounding that system. I love it so bad. I think every kid has grown up reading Harry Potter, watching the movies. I think that you grow up and you stop thinking about Harry Potter and you move into things like The Magicians, like Narnia, like more adult themed wizardry and whimsy. And I think Kids on Brooms is just a perfect way to do that in a TTRPG. I love it. But back to what we were talking about. Moving on, I could gas Kids on Brooms all day.
Speaking of games we played, what are some of y'all's projects going on right now? What are the games that you're playing right now?
I love horror. I love horror campaigns. All of my campaigns that I'm running are horror campaigns. Yeah, they're all D and one. Two of them are D&D, and then one of them is Call of Cthulhu.
I have a bad habit of injecting horror into anything. I'm running two campaigns right now, and one of them, it's an isekai where people from the real world go to, whenever they go to sleep, they wake up in this fantasy world. And the amount of trauma I've been able to inject into their characters in just 3 sessions honestly should be studied. I don't mean to do it all the time, but if you're in a abandoned city under a mountain and it's dark and you fail an insight or perception roll, I don't know what to do aside from make it a little scary. And I don't think I should be blamed for that. And actually, I think I'm right to do it.
Women never do anything wrong. Ever.
I've never
Thank
done
you.
anything wrong
Thank
in
you.
my life.
And even
Women
if they
have
did
never-
something wrong, they need to be supported through that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Exactly, because what did the men do? Put on your
To
Yeah.
cause
thinking
that
cap here.
reaction.
To cause that reaction.
Right.
Women just don't do things just to do things.
Right. And if you see a woman doing something wrong, you shut your fucking mouth.
No, you
And
didn't.
listen to me. You
No, you
sh-
didn't.
First of all,
shut your
there was
goddamn
nothing
mouth.
wrong. Your perception of her actions is what's wrong with the
Right.
society.
There we go.
Why were you looking at her? Hmm? Let's break that down.
Let's really get into it. Why are you
Yeah.
in her business?
Yeah. Hey, here on the Pellet Fort podcast, we fucking hate.
Just
Oh
know
my
that these
God.
pronouns right here are subject to change. Subject to change at a moment's notice.
So what games are you playing right now?
Oh my god, the games that I am planning right now is Big Booby Bobby. I'm always creating, so there's a lot. I literally had to reorganize my my documents to active cooking right now, exclamation point, to active cooking later on down the line. You can put down. It's a very long document type. It's a very long folder title, but I'm currently working on 2 campaigns. One of them is called The Book of the Living Night, which my 2 co-hosts are in. This story was inspired by I was in a conversation, Discord call as usual, trying to drag Chels into every single thing that I do because I love her and she's a strong Black independent woman.
And this independent woman is in every single one of those campaigns. My name is booked and signed.
Yes.
And again, her grandma's doing great.
Yeah.
We're treating her well.
Granny is 73. Yes, she is. Yes, she is.
Yeah. So, one of them is called the Book of the Living Night, and that one's more centered on what I consider high fantasy, which is kind of like The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and the Magicians. There was this book that I used to read. It's called The Silver Crown, and it's about this little girl who her parents aren't really shit. And she was just having a really bad birthday, and then she finds this silver crown in a box, and then she has to go on some hood rat ass adventure. She almost dies. It's a really good book, and I used to read it all the time when I was a kid. But there is something about escapism. Also, that movie with the little girl who died when they would swing across the bridge to Terabithia?
Oh my God. Oh my God.
I blamed myself as a kid for her death.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
Sosa, don't ever mention Bridge to Terabithia in my presence again.
Literally, I was so emotional as a kid. I was like, what? Literally, I think around the time. Sidebar, and then we'll get back into the main thing. Sidebar, I had a family member commit suicide around that time. And I was like the last person to talk to them. And I was like, was it the fact that I asked for some sour M&Ms? The reason why that happened. And then my mom was like, sometimes bad things happen to good people and whatever. And then she was like, but you should really watch this movie. And she put on The Bridge to Terabithia, and my learning lesson was I'm the reason why Leslie died. I have bipolar disorder. I was delusional. I was a child. I was a kid.
No, why would your mom put that movie on after that conversation? Never mind. Never mind. Never
First of
mind.
all,
Black people in America.
I got a couple things to say. One, that was a violation by your mom. She should have known
Yeah.
better. That was a violation. Two, I am so sorry for your trauma. Three,
It's fine.
did you mean sour Skittles or sour
Yes.
M&Ms?
Sour Skittles. The green pack. I used to ask, like,
Okay,
there was like two guys. Yeah.
You said sour M&Ms.
Oh, I meant sour
And
Skittle.
I got scared.
I don't like chocolate. I like sour Skittles. I used to like sour
Okay.
Skittles. They used to taste like battery acid. But anyway.
And you like that?
Yeah. I did. Remember when sugar was sugar back in the day? So
You remember,
basically,
yeah, you remember when sugar used to be sugar? None of these goddamn sweeteners that these fucking liberals put.
these guys.
Remember when you used to bite into a chocolate bar and that shit used to rot your teeth?
Remember when we used to put lead in our coffee?
Remember when the kids used to paint chips off the goddamn walls in the schoolyard? Basically, like the binding, not the binding cycle. Binding cycle is another project that I'm working on that I'm doing a lot of homebrew shit. Like all my worlds are homebrew. But basically, the Book of the Living Night is like my pitch to Chels after having this really profound conversation about how we miss childhood whimsy and we have somebody in our life that we mutually are friends with who has no childhood whimsy. I was like, okay, I want to play with little orphans. I want to play, like, I think in a lot of games we play with adults, like, but what part of your childhood do you want to explore in this, basically, like as orphans though, because I can't have you be happy. And basically, like, there's the keepers and the seekers, and the keepers have to keep the seekers safe because the seeker orphans get sucked into this book, and the keepers have to stay outside of the book and make sure that it doesn't fall into wrong hands or get destroyed, because that could prevent their counterparts or maybe siblings, depending on how everybody wants to play, safe. And I just want to, and then like the seekers are in there looking for like a missing nun, but then they go on like whimsical adventures. We haven't started that yet. We're still in the, I have to basically release the floodgates. I got to put the pen down sometime. And then the other project I'm working on is called The Binding Cycle, where it's post-apocalyptic in a world that instead, it's kind of based off the United States. Of course it is, because why the fuck not? But basically, this country had gotten infected during a schism, and the societies just built over top of it and kept overriding it, and there's an arcane pollution, and basically there was going to be three groups of people. There is going to be those who stay and try to rebuild society and try to fix the engines that are making the problems here worse, than the ones that are going to seek out other civilizations and try to like see how humanity has developed, in what ways we've been set back, and the other ones are just finding out mysteries. Shout out to Brendan Lee Mulligan, because I didn't even know that West March, like a West Marches style campaign, was a fucking option, because I've always wanted to run campaigns with different groups, but I didn't know. Watching him with campaign 4 for Critical Role greatly influenced that. But the Binding Cycle is more dystopian, sci-fi-ish, arcane problems, and then we have whimsy, orphan. In my pitch to Chels, I think I put orphans in the paragraph 30 times because I cannot get enough of it. But those are the projects I'm currently working on. I'm so excited about the Book of the Living Night because I got my lovely co-hosts, and they're so amazing, and they're such great storytellers.
I got a fun closing question for my co-hosts. What part of yourself do you bring to the table that makes your story better?
Hi, I'm Big Boopy Bobby, and I bring classical whimsy and a love for lore.
Lovely. Beautiful. Chels, what part of yourself do you bring to the table that makes the story better?
My almost endless need to help. I want to help the story. I want to help the characters. I want to help the players. I love sharing spotlight, and I love being that like character that moves the spotlight along. Oh, it's poison. It's poison. It's drugs. Thank you.
The
And what about
women.
you? What about
Yeah.
you?
Oh, what about me? Trauma.
Trauma.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, like at least 90%.
yeah.
Um, y'all, it's getting to be that time. Um, and what you can, generally expect from this podcast is what we've been talking about. Lots of our own experiences, topics that we like to discuss and sometimes get a little heated about at tables, specifically surrounding our experiences as Black and queer, because that informs everything that we do. Um, and a lot of talking about the shit we've seen that we really like. We are big fans of Dimension 20. We be watching Critical Role. I will almost always bring up some fan fictions that I've been reading.
And
So
I
you can
write.
count on that. If you're looking for other people in certain fandom spaces, hey, you might just find them here. Um, Anyways, thank you so much to everyone for joining our first episode of SOSA. Would you like to plug our social media? Where can people find us?
You can find us as of end of business day today. You will find us on YouTube, Twitch, Instagram, TikTok, X, and Blue Sky. We will put the link in the description of wherever you're watching this or in our bios and plugged at the end of this video. Thank you so much for joining us today. And as always, Big Booby Bobby.
I am Big Booby Bobby.
I am Big Booby Bobby.
No, I am Big Booby Bobby, and we're signing off.
I am Big